Microphone check. Is this thing on? Okay, so high key, it feels like it's been forever and a day since I've done this thing on camera. And basically the reason why I even decided to do this is, well, one, there's a lot of anime news that comes through, and the format that I've been doing over the last couple of months takes a while to get done. And if I don't talk about some of these stories now, eventually they're gonna pass by and I won't be able to talk about them. Also, I just kind of wanted to do this, but don't expect Forever news every week or anything like that. Let's take things slow, people. But let's get started, shall we? Okay, people, so the anime industry has been going through a lot as of recent. In case you ain't been in the loop, in case you ain't been keeping up with what's happening in the world of anime and manga, a lot of major titles have kind of come and gone. My Hero Academia's manga just recently ended. Jujutsu Kaisen's manga just recently ended. There's a lot of things that are happening in the industry, and aside from just those Goliaths going to pasture, it seems as though the anime boom is beginning to burst. The bubble that began during the pandemic, where we just got an influx, a ginormous amount of brand new anime and manga fans, seems to be coming to a screeching halt, because at the very least we got big news that apparently the United Nations have all met to try and protect anime, and essentially they're warning of a potential collapse of the anime industry that is incoming. And I've been saying this for quite some time. I mean, if you've just been following my channel, if not, you should subscribe and hit that bell and all that good stuff. But I've been saying for quite some time that the anime industry is right now going through something that we've seen a few decades back. Because just to give you a little bit of insight of how history sometimes do be repeating itself, in the 90s there was this massive surge in sales for comic books, to the point where some issues were selling 1 million books right out the gate. Like, it was crazy, never seen before. But then eventually, once that kind of boom subsided, a lot of people were stuck with, you know, these stores in general with thousands of comic books nobody was buying, and sales went from hey to hey. Basically, that bubble had bursted, and it seems as though potentially that's what might be happening with the anime industry. We already see that projections have been shown that in Japan, the growth for anime is kind of getting to a stagnated point. Now, obviously, globally, that could be a different story, but for the most part, if the United Nations are coming in to talk about this stuff, this is a big deal. But let's read this whole article I got right here, and we'll talk some more about just exactly what's happening. New United Nations report discusses collapse of the anime industry. The anime industry, despite recent unprecedented growth across the board, thanks to worldwide fans diving further into the medium, is still struggling with some major issues. While more money than ever is rolling in, conditions for animators and those responsible for some of your favorite anime series continue to deteriorate. While some conditions have been made better by certain studios, the problem has grown so severe that even the United Nations is warning of a potential collapse of the anime industry. In a new report, the UN shared what is currently taking place and the best way that studios can prevent the medium from imploding in the future. I mean, we just recently spoke about, yet again, animators not getting their fair share, and I think it was one of the founders of Studio Bones, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of saying, if you want more money, do better. And while definitely increasing your quality can potentially, ideally, make stuff pop, ultimately the conditions in Japan for these animators is extreme, and alone they are some of the biggest key points to making anime happen. You can't have anime without the animators. But again, this is a giant issue altogether. Let's keep reading. The document in question was released by the United Nations General Assembly's Human Rights Council, titled Report of the Working Group on the Issue of Human Rights and Transactional Corporations and Other Business Enterprises. The report examines many different aspects of the pop culture industry in Japan. On top of the anime industry, the working group also explored the idol industry and how young talent is coerced into signing contracts that are unfair for the future idols. Considering the popularity of anime like Oshinoko, the two entertainment mediums have been crossing over more often than not as of late. And I like hearing this in particular, not the horrible conditions for the idols. I'm saying I'm liking that this is coming to the forefront, because if you've ever followed anything about like the music industry, for example, artists all the time have notoriously come out and spoke about these horrible recording contracts where they gotta submit like 20 albums to get out of the deal, and a nightmare of sorts. So to kind of hear that this is coming to the forefront of like, yeah, they're looking into industry idols, I hope that this trickles down to other industries outside of just the Japanese idol industry, because yeah, the music industry have been screaming out, even going back to the days of Michael Jackson and Prince and the greats and the legends. The anime industry needs to change. To start, here's how the United Nations summarizes the report. The working group on the issue of human rights and transnational corporations and other business enterprises visited Japan from July 24th to August 4th, 2023. The working group was encouraged by the important advancements of Japan, including developing a national action plan on business and human rights and issuing the guidelines on respecting human rights and responsible supply chains. However, challenges remain concerning the business community's capacity to understand and implement human rights due diligence across value chains. That all sounds like fancy talk to say, yo, people are being done dirty and the higher ups are having a hard time understanding that you need to treat people better. That's what I took from that. The synopsis continues. The working group also expressed concern about the significant difficulties observed in addressing deeply embedded harmful gender and social norms, which was particularly evident in the workplace discrimination and harassment experienced by women, indigenous peoples, buraku people, persons with disabilities, migrant workers, and LGBTQ persons, among other groups. Government and business initiatives to promote diversity and inclusion and to safeguard the rights of these at-risk groups are crucial moving forward. I mean, yeah, discrimination definitely needs to be handled and addressed. I can only imagine in a place like Japan, stuff like that probably gets swept under the rug countless times over. So yeah, that does need to be addressed. Because I'm sure there's plenty of animators and people that work in the anime industry in general that fit into one of these categories of these groups, and I'm sure people have had hard times, so that's definitely something that does need to be addressed. Like, bruh, y'all need to treat people right, you know what I'm saying? Anime penalties. When it comes to the anime industry specifically, the United Nations notes that the animation market in Japan has grown in profits to $20 billion USD. Despite this fact, the starting salaries of animators remain quite low, reportedly around $10,000 US money, USD, per employee annually. Not $10,000 a month, $10,000 a year. Bruh. The report also details that around 30% of those working were listed as freelancers and or independent contractors who were not receiving necessary protections. You know, there's always been the story of the quote-unquote starving artist, and this is a prime example of capitalism kind of maintains that model of the starving artist, making $10,000 a year. On top of that, if it's freelancing with no benefits whatsoever, no medical insurance, no nothing like that, which I want to be clear, I'm not quite sure of what the insurance and medical stuff is in Japan, if they need insurance, if they have free healthcare. I'm not sure about that, but I'm just saying that regardless of what, you're already bad enough that you're making $10,000 a year and then no benefits, especially if you're an independent contractor. Being an artist can be a real tough deal. Like, obviously the higher ups, the directors and producers of anime are probably making a significant amount more, and of course the corporates that have nothing to do with it. But as far as being an artist, this is where it comes into play of how much do you love this and how much are you willing to suffer in order to maintain long enough to get to where you're trying to go. Because realistically, $10,000 a year, especially in 2024, you know, you can't survive off that, not in this climate. So this is where it gets a slippery slope, and again, this is where a lot of animators aren't going to want to show up. Would-be animators will not be birthed into the universe, so to speak, because they're going to look at this like $10,000 a year? What the? Yeah, that's not good. The working group details how studios are not receiving punishment for these penalties, while also noting that anime creators, much like idols, will routinely sign contracts that inadequately protect their intellectual property rights. The UN also notes the labor shortage plaguing Japan and states in no uncertain terms that should these issues persist, they could very likely result in the potential collapse of this industry. And I love it. Again, this is basically saying that if the people down at the bottom, so to speak, of the totem pole, the animators, the idols themselves, which is kind of crazy because the idols is, you know, the mascot, so to speak, but if they're not getting their fair share, if they're not getting treated better, then everything else will fall. And it makes sense. I mean, just look at, for example, like a cheerleading tower or whatever. The people at the bottom are the ones that hold everything up. If the people at the bottom are shaky and not feeling it, they're gonna let everything drop, and that'll be the end of the pyramid. A major example of these problems have been reported across the board in relation to anime studios. While some production houses such as Toei Animation have been praised on conditions for its animators, there remain several other studios struggling to meet workers' needs. And yeah, I am very happy to report that, yeah, we've said in the past that Toei Animation were one of the few that actually do treat their employees right. So when you're watching One Piece or you're watching Dragon Ball Daima or anything coming from Toei Animation, you can rest assured that at the very least their employees are getting better than majority across the board. Not that it's fair to the others, but it makes me feel a little bit better when I watch one of these things that, well, the employees are being treated okay, I guess. Amongst reports of low pay, harsh deadlines, and rough environments, the industry still has a lot to do to avoid the potential collapse of the industry. But one of the things too that I take away from all of this is that if the United Nations gets seriously involved, not just a, you know, word salad, so to speak. Like, they genuinely are pushing forward with some legislation to make things pop. If they put in laws of like, yo, dog, this is serious. If we get one complaint, we're fining you guys a ridiculous amount. A lot of that abuse and neglect to the workers and employees comes to an end. So regardless of the motives of the United Nations, whether it's just to create another revenue source for the world or whatnot, or whatever it may be, ultimately, I think putting some serious fines in place for every time basically that employees are not getting what they deserve, not getting treated right, not getting treated properly, then boom, here's a fine. I think a lot of the shenanigans will stop, and I think overall the anime industry will benefit. But if things don't get better, we will see what happened in the 90s with American comic books, a complete and utter crash. But this won't be due to necessarily like sales tanking, although I can only assume at some given point even fans will get tired of constant, you know, anime being just non-stop in their eyes. But even more so than that, the people making it are just gonna walk away, and then there is none. But definitely let me know what you think about this story. How do you feel about this? The anime industry on the verge of collapsing. What can be done at this point? I mean, if the United Nations are stepping in, then you know this is serious. This is a problem. Okay, so I'm actually really excited to talk about this. In case you missed it and you haven't caught it yet, there is a new trailer with a big announcement incoming for an upcoming Death Note video game, which it's kind of crazy. Death Note video game, what the heck? I didn't see that coming for nothing. I mean, well, I kind of heard murmurings of a Death Note video game a few weeks back, which I know you're probably like, yo, if you heard murmurings, why you didn't let us know? Well, I'm letting you know now. But yeah, a new Death Note video game was announced with a trailer, and basically off the gameplay of what we see, a lot of people are comparing it and saying it is pretty much like the game Among Us. Now, personally, I've only played that game maybe like a handful of times several years back, so I don't really have much experience with that game, and for the most part, looking at it, I think it's safe to say, regardless of what you want to say about the Among Us style of gaming, ultimately, for me personally, I feel like it's a breath of fresh air when anime games try to do something different. How many times do you hear people complaining, whether it be online, in the real, whatever the case may be, oh, anime games are washed and tired, it's arena fighters, it's the same thing, blah, 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 blah. Like, you're always hearing that, right? However, whenever an IP tries to do something different like this, which I know it's like similar to Among Us, but it's different from the pack of the One Punch Man, a hero nobody plays, and so on and so forth. It's different from those games. I know a lot of people were really not digging Dragon Ball The Breakers, and I understand that like that was also something similar to like a mobile game or whatnot, but I don't know, man. I think it's really dope, and I'm really excited whenever an anime IP comes out with a video game and it's not a fighting game. Like for me, I've played a billion anime fighters. We've had from the J-Stars and Jump Forces to all the Dragon Ball games, the Naruto games. Like, I played a lot of anime fighters, so whenever they step outside the realms of the norm, for me it's an exciting thing. Like, yay! Now if the game turns out to be bad, it's bad, so be it. But at the very least, they took the risk and tried something different, and especially with an IP like Death Note, you really can't, like, I mean, I guess you can make a fighting game about anything, but it makes more sense to do something different and not quite the exact same. And I believe with the way that Among Us is played, it kind of fits perfectly for a story like Death Note. But let's read all the details. Death Note series gets new online social deduction game for PS5, PS4, PC on November 5th. So this is literally right around the corner. They must have had this in development for a while, and they figured since it's not a AAA type of fighting game or anything like that, let's just put it out there. And the fact that it's coming from PS5, I'm curious if it's going to be a physical game and digital, because for stuff like this, I would love to have the physical. Like if they have a physical and it's like $30 or something, that's a buy. Bandai Namco Entertainment announced on Wednesday the new Death Note Killer Within game based on Sugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata's Death Note manga. The online social deduction game will launch for PS5, PS4, and PC via Steam on November 5th. The company streamed an announcement trailer. In the game, up to 10 players are in one of two teams, Kita and his followers, or L and the investigators. Kita's team aims to kill using the Death Note, while L's team must seize and dispose of the Death Note. Both teams are trying to uncover identities. The players are represented by pawns resembling the ones Nier uses in the original series. Honestly, I take back the pricing point of, like I said, I'd throw $30 in, because I could actually see this being a free-to-play download download with like, you know, in-game purchases or whatnot. Maybe that's the route they're gonna go. So I take back my $30. Although I still would buy a physical game of this just to have something Death Note. I haven't had anything Death Note in like a million years. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of hyped for this. I might check it out. It sounds fun. It sounds like something different. And at the same time, it's like, bruh, it's not an arena fighter. I mean, if I want a great arena fighter, I will play Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. But let me know what you guys think about this one. Do you want this Death Note game? Are you gonna get it? Are you gonna play it? Like, is it just, it's a manga, so I don't really care? Or let me know. My Hero Academia fans, I know our manga has come to an end and the latest anime season wrapped with the announcement that next season will be the final season of the My Hero Academia anime. But at the very least, we got some good news about the latest film of the franchise, My Hero Academia, You're Next. I actually seen that film and I was considering doing a review for it, but it just kind of never really happened. And maybe when it hits Netflix or one of the streaming services down the road, I might do a review for it. But at the very least, I could come in and tell you guys that it did pretty good in the box office. I mean, it did really good in the box office, especially if it's competing with itself. Because to start off with, My Hero Academia, Your Next film opened up in the US at number 8 in the US box office. The Box Office Mojo website estimates My Hero Academia, Your Next, the fourth film in the My Hero Academia franchise, earned $3,007,420 in its opening weekend and ranked at number 8 in the US box office. The film earned an estimated $1.36 million on Friday, an estimated $952,111 on Saturday, and an estimated $694,000 on Sunday. The film's grossing international earning is now at US $23,615,000 and gross worldwide earning at US $26,622,000. And to put it into perspective, the My Hero Academia movie worldwide is the biggest My Hero Academia movie thus far, because My Hero Academia, Your Next surpassed $23.5 million, which made it the highest grossing film in the My Hero Academia franchise as of right now. Basically, it made history. Now again, however you feel about the film, personally, I thought it was a good film. I enjoyed it. I love seeing Dark Might, and Deku looked freaking awesome in every scene, and they just did a great job with a lot of the action sequences and whatnot. But yeah, the fact that My Hero Academia, with his last film, was even bigger than the film before that. At present, Bones has yet to confirm if a fifth movie is on the way, though it would make sense considering the success of the franchise thus far. And I'm gonna be honest, before we end this segment right here, I will say that I definitely think that there's no reason why My Hero Academia, even if the original manga has ended and the anime is ending next season, that we can't get a few movies every so often, every few years, especially some of the stuff that they left on the cutting edge of the table of like, bruh, where's Deku's father? Like, there's a lot of mystery still left in My Hero Academia, and Deku's father being a big movie plot would be amazing. Like, there's so many different things that we could explore moving forward, just going into the future of the My Hero Academia story in general. So this is a great sign that if the last movie did better than the previous movies, and the previous movie was the biggest one, then that means that they're probably going to be there with the investors like, yo, there's still so much money to be made with My Hero. We could still make more movies. And I would be really here for it. Like a My Hero Academia movie every 2 to 3 years would be great, especially if they do some sort of spin-off thing, because let's be clear, My Hero Academia has been successfully growing with everything. Like it never really stopped growing per se. So if that's the case, then yeah, they're gonna want to get some bread out of this. They're gonna want to try to do something else, and My Hero Academia, Your Next is just a testament to people still want My Hero Academia. I know the chatter online is, it fell off, it's garbage now. That's just the online chatter. For the most part, outside of this, My Hero Academia fans are loving it and are missing the manga already, and yeah, they're gonna make more movies. There's just no way. It's just a matter of when. Okay, so Dragon Ball fans, there's a ton of stuff we gotta talk about, anywhere from Dragon Ball Daima's success regarding its release. We got Stephanie Nadolny breaking her silence after 15 years, finally coming back to the role of young Goku in the English dub, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, let's talk about it. For starters, the hot tamale on the streets right now, Dragon Ball Daima is out. They're putting out episodes each and every week. We're like 3 or 4 episodes deep as of the recording of this video, and yeah, it seems as though Daima's doing pretty good on Netflix. Dragon Ball Daima disproves critics with impressive Netflix ratings. For years, Dragon Ball has commanded the attention of fans globally, and that grip is only getting tighter. Son Goku is one of the most famous characters on TV after all. From movie to TV, Dragon Ball knows what it takes to win, and it is proving as much with Dragon Ball Daima. The new anime is just a few episodes in, and despite its few critics, the show is eating up streaming ratings. If you did not realize, Dragon Ball Daima came to life at the start of October, and it marks the anime's first foray since 2018. The show began strong with an extended premiere, and Toei Animation cleaned the plate with its animation from its lore drops to its solid visuals, Dragon Ball Daima is thriving, and Netflix has confirmed this with a new ratings update. You can head over to Netflix's top 10 to see this for yourself. If you look, the service's global numbers, Dragon Ball Daima ranked in second place for non-English TV shows. The anime made this push between October 21st and October 27th despite competition from other top-notch anime titles. Also, let's be very clear, Daima has premiered on Netflix a week late. Basically, Daima has been out on all of the other streaming platforms that it's on about a week before that episode came out. So this is with a late premiere that a ton of people already watched the episode, and it's still doing numbers. You got to keep that one in mind, okay? Because I've seen some people trying to discredit what Daima is doing with saying, but Don Da Don did way better, blah, blah. Well, Don Da Don premiered on Netflix with the English dub on top of that. Daima is a week late on Netflix in Japanese only, where Dragon Ball is an IP that majority of the fans in the West grew up with it in English. For instance, Don Da Don came in third place during this time frame with 3.1 million views. To be fair, that's like the third or fourth episode of Don Da Don. Ranma 1/2 also popped up on the list with a 6th place ranking. The main competition facing these anime titles comes with South Korean dramas, but as far as anime is concerned, Dragon Ball Daima is doing well at Netflix just 2 episodes in. This data is only paired with Dragon Ball Daima's success elsewhere online. According to Google, the anime has ranked as one of the top 10 most searched anime series since its release. It's competing against shows like Dragon Ball Z, hilariously enough, and other hits like Blue Lock and My Hero Academia. In Japan, the popular news site MyNavi has ranked Dragon Ball Daima as the top anime to watch fall 2024, and that doesn't even touch the success of Dragon Ball Daima on Max. The streaming service oversees the anime's release in South America as well as in select European markets. Dragon Ball Daima has not left the service's top 10 list since its debut. And honestly, that's great to hear that Dragon Ball, you know, you always got to remember this manga came out in 1984. We're in 2024, you dig? It's been a long time that Dragon Ball's been out. So for it to be doing stuff like this with a brand new anime with no source material to back it up or whatnot, that's awesome. And since we're talking about Daima, one of the things that people are very excited about is come November when Dragon Ball Daima premieres with the English dub in theaters, Stephanie Nadolny will be reprising her role as Son Goku. Now it's been, I want to say like 15 years, according to this article at least, since she's been the voice of Son Goku. I believe they recasted her with Colin Clinkenbeard for like all of the video games, and anytime he's ever showed up, it's been pretty much Colin Clinkenbeard. However, Stephanie Nadolny is back and she broke her silence. Kid Goku's original voice actor returns for Dragon Ball Daima. It's a tremendous honor to once again lend my voice to Goku, and this new chapter, Dragon Ball Daima, is filled with exciting adventures that fans of all ages will enjoy, Nadolny shared in a special statement to Dragon Ball fans during New York Comic-Con 2024. Following reports of her possible inclusion earlier this year, Nadolny's voice was then very noticeable during the first dubbed trailer release for Dragon Ball Daima. Fans thought they could recognize her performance, so now it's finally confirmed that Nadolny is returning to the anime. And for me, that I grew up with, she is young Goku for me. She is definitely young Gohan all the way up until he's like, you know, older teenager and Kale Bear takes over. Like, she is Goku and Gohan's younger voices to me. So to hear her come back is great. I would love to hear Linda Young return at some given point to play Frieza as well. Shout outs to Linda Young. Like, shout outs to Stephanie Nadolny. I can only imagine she's very happy to reprise her role, and I wish they would have used her for Sparking Zero. Like, yeah, that would have been great. Then for fans of Dragon Ball related manga, there's a new Dragon Ball manga that's coming out. Well, it's not what you would want. It's not Dragon Ball Super or even a Daima adaptation into manga. There's a new Dragon Ball manga that is coming to promote one of the Dragon Ball games. It's basically like, think of what Dragon Ball Heroes was, not the Dragon Ball Hero movie, but the Dragon Ball Heroes game thingy that they've had for years upon years that was like exclusive to Japan, and then they put out those short episodes over a bunch of years and whatnot. This is basically the new that, because Dragon Ball Heroes, if I'm not mistaken, finished and wrapped itself up, and right after it wrapped up, they were like, yo, we got something else coming. Boom, Dragon Ball Super Divers. Yuji Kasai launches Dragon Ball Super Divers manga series on November 1st. The official Twitter account of Shueisha's Saikyo Jump magazine announced on Thursday that Dragon Ball Super Divers Let's Super Dive, a new manga series based on the Dragon Ball Super Divers arcade game, will launch in the magazine's December issue on November 1st. Yuji Kasai, Super Dragon Ball Heroes Avatars, is drawing the manga, so basically he's already worked on Dragon Ball. The Dragon Ball Super Divers arcade game also received a separate one-shot manga by Toyo Taro. The one-shot ran in Shueisha's V-Jump magazine October 21st, so there was already a one-shot that was done by Toyo Shotaro, but this one is going to be done by an entirely different person. Dragon Ball Super Divers will launch in Japan November 7th as the successor to the Dragon Ball Heroes arcade game. Both games are digital card games that feature the use of physical cards. Developer Dimps announced in May that Dragon Ball Heroes would end. The Dragon Ball Super Divers is planning to have a Heroes mode that will incorporate the cards and characters from the previous game, which I'm wondering what was going on with the levels of success for Dragon Ball Heroes. I mean, personally, I would have never gave the okay to do Dragon Ball Heroes to begin with, because there's so many what ifs that they include in that is like, bro, the main story that, you know, you put in theaters and you put on TV animes and whatnot kind of could use some of those ideas. You know what I mean? Like, they have everything that you could possibly think of, from fusions fighting each other to Goku fighting, you know, Super Saiyan Blue Goku versus Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Like, Dragon Ball Heroes, it's interesting 110%, but again, because it's not canon, I feel personally it just takes away from stuff that could make its way to the actual canonical stuff with Super, unless they actually make that canon. Like, if they ever did decide to make some of this stuff canon from the arcade game, anime and manga and stuff like that, I would like it that they do what they did with Broly. You take the idea, but, you know, just redo it and make it canon. So if they decided to go, hey, let's bring Xeno Goku into this thing, make it that this is the first time they ever encounter, and yeah, he has a separate world or whatever, but, you know, that whole multiverse type of stuff, which that can be great. I guess we'd have to wait and see if that ever did come about. But yeah, Dragon Ball Super Divers, new manga. Check it out if you like, in November. Then this one caught me off guard. Apparently, James Marsters, the person that played Piccolo in Dragon Ball Evolutions, recently reflected on Dragon Ball Evolution and his disastrous role. I will always give James Marsters credit for one major thing, and I'll never forget, in an interview he said originally, and I think even the original press release showed, Piccolo was going to be yellow in Dragon Ball Evolution, and he fought really hard. Bro, in the manga, in the anime, he's green. Why is he yellow? So they made Piccolo green because of James Marsters, so I always got to give him massive props for that one. But let's see what he said about this movie. If you were an anime fan in 09, well, you have surely blacked out some of that era. That spring, the World Watch says Hollywood rolled out one of his worst movies of all time. Dragon Ball Evolution stands as one of the industry's most infamous projects, and it ushered in an anime lull like we have never seen. Over the years, the cast and crew of DB Evolution have rarely brought up the film, but now James Marsters is reflecting on the movie. A few weeks back, Marsters made a quiet appearance on Inside of You by Michael Rosenbaum, and the podcast delved into the actor's most trying periods. It was there the topic of Dragon Ball surfaced, as Marsters did a voice for Dragon Ball Super. It was there the star recounted his experience with the IP, and he said he fought hard to voice Zamos in the anime as an apology for Dragon Ball Evolution. Bro, I always remember James Marsters from Buffy. You know what I'm saying? I remember, was it Spike? I want to say he was Spike in Buffy. Like, I'm always gonna remember him from Buffy, and yeah, he played Piccolo in DB Evolution. I just didn't want any credit on Dragon Ball because I wanted it to be known to the people at conventions, to the real Dragon Ball Super fans. People would come in my autograph lines and ask what happened with that film. I was in this film, a really not good Dragon Ball movie called Dragon Ball Evolution, Marsters said, explaining why he used his pseudonym on Dragon Ball Super. Oh, I just looked. I didn't even realize that James Marsters actually does play Zamos in the English dub of Dragon Ball Super. That is even more a testament to his character as a person, that he did it for zero pay apparently, and he did it just to say I'm sorry to Dragon Ball fans. Shout outs to Spike, aka James Marsters. That is the one good thing about the movie. Not a lot of people saw it, and to everyone who is watching, don't go see that film. Continuing, the actor talked about the world premiere of Dragon Ball Evolution in Japan. The screening was met with quiet applause, and according to Marsters, this reaction is what led him to realize just how bad the adaptation was. It was just a slow, dawning, sinking feeling that it was just really horrible. The point is that I was tired of catching guff at conventions for this film, so when I got the chance to be on Dragon Ball Super, I was like, let's do this little trick and let's use a fake name. It is so I can go to conventions and tell fans that I am Zamos, and it's an apology for that film. When Dragon Ball Super went live, the anime was met with high praise, and no one saw Marsters return to the franchise coming. His performance as Zamos earned him lots of love, and fans were quick to accept his olive branch. After all, Marsters has owned up to his love for Dragon Ball over the years, and the train wreck called Dragon Ball Evolution can hardly be pinned on the actor alone. I mean, yeah, I've watched many people that were a part of Dragon Ball Evolution talk about what went wrong, from the script writers to James Marsters talking about how he got down to Mexico and was told it was a $100 million budgeted film. When he got there, it was only $30 million. The director, that was like a highly critically acclaimed person that was supposed to be directing the movie, was only on paper. He got down to Mexico, the man wasn't nowhere to be found. So yeah, it was a lot of other aspects outside of their control. Basically, it sounds like the suit and ties was the ones responsible for this, bottom line. But yeah, kudos to Marsters for making it up to the fans. Okay, so in case you missed it, I recently spoke about Studio Pierrot, the studio behind Bleach, Thousand Blood War, Black Clover anime, Boruto anime. Heck, they did Yu Yu Hakusho back in the day, and of course Naruto. They've done a lot of work. Well, recently they signed a deal to expand their studio, and it seems as though they signed another deal. Let me hop into the archive of memes real quick and pull out Khaled to say another one, which I'm going to keep on celebrating and congratsing to Studio Pierrot for expansion, because this is only going to mean better for everything that they got to release in the future. So whenever Black Clover does come back, whenever Boruto returns and we get that 2 Blue Vortex, whenever they decide to do a Tokyo Ghoul remake, assuming another studio doesn't pick it up, because I'm just saying, Ufotable, or if not Ufotable, Studio Mappa, as long as you allow your employees to actually live life. But yeah, it seems as though Studio Pierrot is on a roll, and they are really trying to rev things up to make a whole bunch of really high quality anime. Studio Pierrot, South Korean animation studio Red Dog Culture House sign partnership. Anime Studio Pierrot and South Korean animation studio Red Dog Culture House announced on Wednesday that they signed a business partnership in August to jointly produce and invest in projects targeted at the global market. And I hear that, and immediately Boruto and Black Clover are the 2 big ones that stand out, especially Boruto because of the connection to Naruto. That is a global thing. Like, globally, people know about Naruto and they know about his son Boruto. Whether you love it or hate it, at the very least, the reception 2 Blue Vortex on has just been like, this is so much gas. So the way they decide to market that, which is a side conversation in general, but regardless of what, when I think globally, I think, well, those are global phenomena. Black Clover as well. If you remember what I reported back in the day as far as it being like top 10 on Crunchyroll worldwide in like 100 different countries, like, they're both global hits. So this could very well be beneficial and impactful for the future of those animes, so that they could come back and look like Thousand Year Blood War, if not better. Partnership will last 3 years with the 2 studios. Ooh, okay, it's gonna last 3 years. That means within these 3 years, they're gonna be amping up production. Let's go! With the 2 studios collaborating with their respective production systems while being supported and receiving investment from mainly Japanese production committees. The partnership's first production will be an animated adaptation of Lim Kyung-bae and Kang Sung-kyu's Latna Saga, the Survival Sword King webtoon, which will begin full-pledged production this year. Okay, so it looks like they're starting off with something fresh, something a little bit different. Latna Saga, I thought it said Latina for a minute. I was like, whoa, Latna Saga, the Survival Sword King, and it's a webtoon thing. That's interesting, because if there's one thing about Studio Pierrot you could say, when they're not kind of diving into their whole filler bag or just anime original stuff, they know how to put together anime really beautifully. Tokyo Ghoul, you could hate on it all you want, but if it wasn't for Studio Pierrot making that bomb season 1, it would have never went the way it did. For future projects, the collaboration is exploring animated adaptations of popular manga as well as original South Korean webtoons. Animation director Bae King Young, who did The Legend of Korra, Steven Universe, founded Red Dog Culture House in 2014 and currently serves as its CEO. The studio worked on Love, Death, and Robots, The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf, and Dragon Age Absolution. And like I said in a previous video, Asahi Production and Pierrot also signed a deal on October 11th to strengthen the system. So Studio Pierrot is about to be busting out major wins, and I can't freaking wait. Boruto, Black Clover, or just in general, I don't want to keep on harping on those. Whatever they got coming, I'm excited because they got money behind it, they got manpower behind it, they got time behind it. Studio Pierrot is about to take some major wins, and let's get it. Okay, so Pokemon fans, I don't know if you heard about it, but recently there was a major breach with Pokemon's database, and a lot of crazy information and lore about the world of Pokemon came out. According to this, it says Pokemon developer Game Freak reports data breach. Japanese game developer Game Freak announced last Thursday that it suffered a data breach via unauthorized third-party access to its servers in August. The breach led to the names and company email addresses of 2,600 current and former Game Freak employees and contract workers being leaked. Game Freak is contacting the affected employees individually and added that it has run an inspection and reorganization of its servers. Over the past weekend, posts on social media claimed to leak gigabytes of information from upcoming projects and assets from past games. The leaks reportedly include information on an unannounced Pokemon game for both the Switch and its planned successor, a separate unannounced Pokemon game co-developed with another studio, assets of unused graphics and music from past Pokemon games for the Nintendo DS, a planned live-action Pokemon Netflix show, and a planned sequel to the 2019 live-action Detective Pikachu film. And there was also information in there about like what happened with why we never saw Ash's father. Apparently, like, they had that in the works, but they just never really got around to it. Another thing was Ash being removed from it. Apparently, there was some rating stuff, and they were like, yo, we don't want to completely remove. Like, removing Ash from Pokemon was a very big decision that wasn't done overnight. And a lot of it is that they wanted to promise fans as well that, yo, Ash might return from his eternal summer vacation at some given point. Don't worry about it. So there was a lot that went into Ash being removed from Pokemon. And in general, yeah, I don't want to go into all of those leaks and all that information in there because some of it is quite disturbing. But yeah, if you heard about it, what do you think about that whole Game Freak leak and whatnot? Like, kind of crazy. And then lastly, I just want to go through some quick headlines, quick stories. We ain't gonna dive too deep into any of this stuff, but for starters, we got a comment recently from Hunter x Hunter's Yoshihiro Togashi, one of which where he was talking about that his back is seemingly improving, which is great freaking news. About time that we hear something good about this man's health. So he said that his back was healing, and then he went on to talk about Sailor Moon's musical by Nojizaka, Hunter x Hunter, Romeo and Juliet, and the Rose of Versailles. Theater has provided me so much energy, so it seems as though he's having a good time going to theater or whatnot. Shout out to Yoshihiro Togashi. Then Invincible. I am a pretty big fan of Invincible. For the most part, I really enjoyed the first couple of seasons. It's a bit graphic, and if it's too violent for you, I totally and completely understand, because some people, it's just, you know, weak at heart, and I get it. But season 3 was officially confirmed to be premiering February 6th, and there's no mid-season break to be happening for it. So if you're an Invincible fan, get ready. Then we got a quick comment from Yusuke Murata, the artist of One Punch Man, regarding Dragon Ball Daima. He said, Daima was amazing. It was exactly the kind of Dragon Ball anime I wanted to see. I'm excited to see what's next. And I believe that was after the first episode. So it seems as though Yusuke Murata is really on board with Dragon Ball Daima. Then this little viral video was going around of people cosplaying as Dragon Ball characters in Japan. In particular, one of them was cosplaying as the voice actress of Japanese Goku, Masako Nozawa. I was like, bro, what are we doing here? It was kind of funny, and at the same time, just like, I don't want to say weird, it was just a little different. But yeah, if you want to check it out, that video is floating around there as well. Then, and I will probably cover this in an entirely different video, a lot of authors from Shonen Jump recently were talking together about like their favorite battles from each other's series or whatnot. And Tite Kubo, the author of Bleach, recently came out and said his favorite battle scene in Jujutsu Kaisen is Maki's rampage on the Zenins in perfect preparation arc. And yo, Kubo, you got good taste. Shout out to Maki Zenin, and that whole arc was crazy. Then it's not anime related, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Static Shock apparently made an appearance in the Teen Titans Go's 400 episode. Y'all know, in case you don't, in case you really don't, because a lot of people probably don't know, but Static Shock was originally supposed to do a crossover in the original Teen Titans animated series from the early 2000s, but things didn't line up properly, and I think because of the art style difference, it was hard for them to come up with how they were going to do it, so it never happened. But Static should have been a part of the original Teen Titans, darn it. Then quickly, just want to give a quick applause to Studio Madhouse, because they're celebrating their 52nd anniversary. And yeah, they were founded in 1972, and in case you don't know about Studio Madhouse, they've created incredible anime from the 2011 Hunter x Hunter anime, Parasite, the Maxim. Like, they've just done so many incredible anime, so salute to Studio Madhouse. In case you don't know, Sakamoto Days, the anime to the Shonen Jump manga that's been running for quite some time now, is coming out January 2025 on Netflix. I'm looking forward to that. That's one of my most highly anticipated anime for the winter 2025 season. Like, that is probably going to be freaking awesome. Then One Punch Man fans, One Punch Man has reached 32 million copies in circulation. Big congrats to One Punch Man. Honestly, recently it's been really heavy on me that I really want to read the manga again. Let me know if you read the One Punch Man manga. Is it worth it? I stopped literally, I want to say it was towards the end of the Saitama versus Garo battle, where there was like some time jumping or something like that. I believe it was like 2 years ago now, so I got like 2 years worth of manga to catch up on with One Punch Man, and I think I'm gonna go for it. Then there's been this weird rumor about Kagurabachi that I'm gonna just put it in rumor because I don't see this being like public information, but it's been going around there that apparently anime studios are fighting to adapt Kagurabachi. Kagurabachi is the latest Shonen Jump manga that is seemingly being very successful. Like, it's doing very well. I think they already announced with 3 or 4 volumes it has 1 million copies out there in circulation, which is huge. And yeah, if this is legit and anime studios are going to war for it, this is probably going to get a top of the line studio. This is the only new battle series in Shonen Jump right now with any sort of real traction that people are jumping towards. So Kagurabachi is going to have a crazy anime adaptation. I know it. Regardless if this is legit and there's a bidding war for it or not, that is going to be huge. And yeah, people, that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of these, then definitely support, drop a like, a comment, share, all of that good stuff. But regardless, I had fun doing this, and until next time, I'm Tim. As always, people, have an awesome day. Peace in. Only when I leave.